Good afternoon. I'm John Nery, a journalist from the Philippines and a member of the board of the World Justice Project. And it is my happy task to present the Anthony Lewis Prize for Exceptional Rule of Law Journalism. As a journalist, I am particularly encouraged by the design of the 2025 World Justice Forum because it began with an opening keynote from a journalist who held the line, and it ends with the recognition of journalists who continue to dare, in a forbidding environment, to exercise the freedom of the press. The unfettered practice of journalism is still its own best defense. But it too needs allies, partners, encouragers. At a time, during a decade, when authoritarian pressure has constricted civic space, the emphasis that the World Justice Forum has placed on the role of journalism is bracing. Several of the same Warsaw principles see a role for journalists in oversight, in counter-disinformation, in the fostering of public dialogue, in the safeguarding and widening of civic space. In the 4 lessons that Justice Minister Bodnar drew from Poland's rule of law crisis, journalism too plays a role. Inspired by the work of the late Anthony Lewis, who transformed the practice of legal journalism, the World Justice Project has sought to recognize journalism that strengthens accountability, builds awareness of the foundational importance of the rule of law, and advances adherence to its principles. Over the years, the WJP has honored journalists from the Associated Press, the Center for Investigative Journalism of Serbia, Animal Politico of Mexico, and the Organized Crime and Corruption Reporting Project. The award comes with a $10,000 prize. This year, our board of judges, Ann Avis of Internews, Simon Long of The Economist, Larry Madowo of CNN International, past awardees Pavla Hoklova of the Organized Crime and Corruption Reporting Project, and Daniel Moreno of Animal Politico, and myself, was moved and inspired by the courage and craft of many of the nominees and all of the finalists. The judges found the work of iStories Media, an independent Russian newsroom operating in exile, and the reporting of Anderson Boscan and Monica Velasquez of Ecuador deeply compelling. But after several rounds of screening, it was the work of CamboJA, the Cambodian Journalists Alliance Association, that emerged first among its peers for its excellent reporting on civil justice, labor rights, organized crime, corruption, and crackdowns on dissidents, all while facing serious threats, including multiple arrests and detention. Please roll video.
In Cambodia, where the flow of information is often restricted, independent journalism is crucial. CamboJA is a newsroom dedicated to exposing injustice and defending the rule of law. This is our story. CamboJA's team of journalists and editors delivers daily coverage and in-depth investigative journalism on civil justice, crackdowns on dissidents, labor rights, organized crime, regulatory failures, and corruption for local and international audiences. Our reporting has exposed the inner workings of Cambodia's illicit cyber scam industry, which traffics more than 100,000 people and generates an estimated $12.5 billion annually, nearly half the country's GDP. In a standout expose, the CamboJA team uncovered efforts by influential politicians to evade U.S. sanctions over their ties to scam compounds and human trafficking networks. Another months-long investigation revealed Cambodian authorities' negligence in shutting down what credible reports indicate were industrial-scale scam centers. These heavily guarded compounds, suspected of being operated by criminal syndicates, investigation of these required reporters to get dangerously close. Stories like this can come at a cost. Authorities have detained journalists who expose powerful figures and their ties to illicit activities. The risks are real. Despite this, CamboJA News presses on undaunted, uncompromising, and committed to holding power to account. We're honored to have been recognized with the 2025 World Justice Project's Anthony Lewis Prize for Exceptional Rule of Law Journalism.
For their courageous reporting, the Anthony Lewis Prize for Exceptional Rule of Law Journalism is awarded to CamboJA, the Cambodian Journalists Alliance Association. Ladies and gentlemen, the founder and executive director of CamboJA, V. Nop, and associate editor, Coby Hobbs. Honorees have received a certificate as well as a special gift, a custom print inspired by their work and created by Afghan digital artist Fatima Wojohat. May I call on Coby Hobbs first and then V. Nop for their acceptance speeches.
Good evening. On behalf of the CamboJA Newsroom, I'd like to say how honored and deeply heartened we are to receive the World Justice Project's Anthony Lewis Prize for Exceptional Rule of Law Journalism. Recognition of our team's persistent reporting and investigative work with a distinguished seal of a prize bearing the legacy of Anthony Lewis, a journalist who is resolute in covering justice and constitutional freedoms, and to be spotlighted among so many admirable publications has been a powerful encouragement to our reporters and editors, and a rare bright spot for journalism in Cambodia. We're also grateful to the World Justice Project, not only for this recognition, but for its steadfast commitment to defending the rule of law globally and creating a platform like this forum that uplifts the work of rule of law champions and determined newsrooms like ours. CamboJA, short for the Cambodian Journalist Alliance, was established out of necessity, a need to organize, to create a safe commons built to protect a battered and beaten press corps. In 2019, in the wake of widespread crackdowns on journalists and media outlets ahead of Cambodia's 2018 general election, more than a dozen professional journalists came together in emergency. They agreed to build an organization that would defend press freedom, fight for access to information, and support their colleagues' livelihoods. That collective of journos became CamboJA, and later, its publishing arm, CamboJA News, now widely seen as the country's last independent newsroom. Unfortunately, the rest of our team cannot join us here today, the most imminent reason being the potential threat of reprisal for the recognition of their work. As a foreign journalist and editor who works with these brave Cambodian reporters, my job is to be in the trenches with them, helping capture the stories of their country's realities, grounding them with editorial rigor, fact, and context. In all of our reporting lines on rule of law issues, we work to push whole truths through information voids, breaking through language barriers and censorship to land on the international stage where accountability can be demanded. I know the video mentioned our 2 investigations, but I would like to put an emphasis on them because we're proud of them. The 2 investigations highlighted by the World Justice Project exposed the inner workings of Cambodia's illicit cyber scam industry. Recent data suggest, and this is why I wanted to reiterate this, the industry now traffics more than 150,000 people from at least 22 countries into forced criminality, generating over $12.5 billion annually, nearly half of Cambodia's GDP. The illicit enterprise is rapidly rivaling the global drug trade, extending across the region, notably in Laos and Myanmar. Together, these syndicates exploit a cybercriminal labor force easily exceeding 350,000 people and generate between $50 and $75 billion each year. One expose fueled by well-sourced tips revealed efforts by a senior politician to evade US sanctions linked to this industry. The investigation raised urgent questions about whether international companies operating in special economic zones are complying with sanction policies, and to what extent the state shields powerful tycoons connected to criminal networks. Our other months-long investigation uncovered authorities' negligence in shutting down an industrial-scale scam farm. Our reporting revealed that over 1,000 potential human trafficking victims remain unaccounted for, seemingly after performative police raids. Getting close to these criminal enclaves and reporting on organized crime at all carries serious risk. But to avoid these stories would, I believe, be journalistic malpractice. Former CamboJA contributing reporter Nery, one of the first to break open the story of the scam industry, was jailed for nearly a month last year on incitement charges tied to unrelated social media posts. The ordeal led Nery to make the difficult decision to leave journalism altogether. Such legal targeting has struck even closer to home. One of our own staff reporters previously spent nearly a year behind bars. And the few foreign journalists still working in Cambodia now face growing threats. Most recently, a British investigative journalist focused on environmental crime was blacklisted and banned from the country, presumably as a consequence for his reporting. I could riddle off many more cases or discuss the new threats facing our journalism and other civil society organizations after the recent cuts in assistance from the world's largest foreign aid donor. But the fact remains that CamboJA presses on, unwavering, fresh off a win, and committed to holding power to account. Thank you.
So thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, 17 million Cambodians are losing their right to access the truth. This is the troubling product of the loss of and attacks of independent media recent year. Due to political tightening, fear of intimidation, and discrimination and harassment online and offline, the last local independent media such as CamboJA News has been operating under the umbrella of its parent non-governmental organization such as Independent on International Funding. As Coby mentioned, CamboJA was formally established in 2019 by a local independent journalist who are committed to promoting access to information and freedom of expression. Since then, CamboJA has become a shield defending press freedom and journalists. We are the only association among more than 50 so-called journalism associations and clubs in Cambodia who have been promoting safety and security for those dedicated to safeguarding uncaptured media. We have also pushed hard to network with other coalitions dedicated to similar causes, such as the Southeast Asia Coalition to promote press freedom, to inform hundreds of millions of ASEAN citizens on the situation of independent media and access to information in the region. When people are well informed, people are empowered. It's the spirit of our mission. However, to create change in our society, we need the range of collective cooperation of all levels. The World Justice Forum today has graciously invited and recognized our representatives of our free Cambodian press, ensuring us that we are not acting alone. The Anthony Lewis Prize Award to CamboJA News is evidence of the values that CamboJA and CamboJA News is for the social justice for our citizens. Social justice is the backbone of trust, peace, stability, and sustainability for social development. With this regard, we know that our role are also promote this value. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, to conclude, I would like to express my gratitude and thanks to the World Justice Project, who has recognized and uplifted our works at their distinguished World Justice Forum. I am also calling for additional attention from stakeholders to continue supporting, partnering, and networking with independent journalists, independent media outlets, more than ever, to ensure that their rights and freedom are fully exercised without fear and favor. Thank you so much. អរគុណ
Some of you may have noticed that a copy of Fatima's artwork beneath the red blindfold is in your World Justice Forum bag in the form of a postcard. It is a small reminder which we can all take home after this 3-year-long rule of law wedding, that we do live in a shared reality and that we do share a common hope that we can, in our own work, in our own way, and here I am borrowing Fatima's words, turn silence into color. Congratulations again, Vinop, Coby, Hobbs, and the journalists of CamboJA. Now to close the 2025 World Justice Forum, may I call on our generous and inspirational host, Minister of Justice, Adam Bodnar.
Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, I think I would like to say that you were generous to Warsaw. You were generous by coming here, by spending with us 3 days. You were generous because you have decided to name this great document, Warsaw Principles for the Rule of Law, with the name of Warsaw. My task then would be to do everything what is possible in order to promote this document, to deliver it to people that are important from the point of view of fight for democracy, rule of law, but also to our leaders of solidarity movement. Maybe I will just let you know one thing, that probably you know the name of Lech Wałęsa, a Polish Nobel Prize leader and a leader of solidarity movement. But can you imagine that after so many years, he is also one of the leading cases decided by the European Court of Human Rights on judicial independence is named Lech Wałęsa against Poland. So that is quite a symbolic situation, that after so many years, he had to bring his own case in order to fight for judicial independence. And I think it should be my task to take your principles with me and to give it to him as a sign of recognition for his work and that this work is being continued. Ladies and gentlemen, I think that the Congress shows that rule of law is not just a task for lawyers. It is a task for civil society organizations, as it was mentioned for community paralegals, for journalists, for businessmen. That basically it is like the general task which should be in our hearts, because otherwise we cannot live in a democratic world. And at the same time, we see, thanks to another generosity, thanks to rule of law reports, that the rule of law standards are declining. So we must not only look into rankings, but we should think how to bring this message that the rule of law is a task for everybody, to all the members of the society. And that it is simply important to anyone, not just as a symbolic value, but simply as a protection against arbitrariness, against discretion, against protection from violence, but also as a guarantee that those that have the power might be held accountable if they abuse their power. And I think the Congress shows that it is not just regional effort, it is a global effort, that we have quite many things in common. Maybe, we refer to different courts, different regional courts, different UN instruments, sometimes maybe some OECD mechanisms or other local or international instruments, but still, irrespectively of instruments, basically we are fighting for the same, and we have quite similar problems regarding the fight for the rule of law. And I think it shows also that it is a continuity, that I think we could be quite certain that the next World Justice Forum would also have a lot of topics to cover. Because it is the continuous effort by everybody. I'm very happy that there are so many international and domestic partners here, because it shows that it is a coalition movement and not just a task of one or the other organization. By the way, just today, I was coming in the morning from Brussels. I was reading two interesting documents, which one may say they are completely different from a little bit different World Council conclusions. But on the other hand, I've realized that basically they are about the same. One was about democratic resilience. Second was about how to apply properly the EU Charter on Fundamental Rights. So I came to thinking that, in different places, in different organizations, in different venues, we may talk about different issues, topics, and points of agenda, but at the end of the day, it is about support, involvement, inclusion, civil society. It is also about funding, and it is about independence and integrity. And I think this World Justice Forum shows it properly. I must tell you that I was extremely inspired by Maria Resa's speech, because I think it is quite rare that we are, and I think she has this very special ability of combining this discussion, which sometimes seems to be based on very traditional thinking on rule of law, democracy, human rights, institutional design, with everything that comes forward with the informational change, disinformation, threats of social media giants, development of AI, and how we should find ourselves in this new environment. And I think it is extremely important to open our minds, open our horizons with that kind of thinking. And I can imagine that all of you who are here participating in a number of panel discussions, award ceremonies, and panels, you are coming back to your countries, to your tasks with this bigger vision of your tasks for the future. Once again, I would like to thank you very much for coming to Warsaw. I would like to thank World Justice Project for choosing Warsaw. It was a great pleasure for me to work with you, also together with Dominika, my advisor, with William, with Alejandro II, with Elizabeth, and a number of other people from World Justice, Nancy, of course, who were involved into this effort. Once again, thank you very much for your generosity. Thank you.